Alright, hey everyone, Simon here, and I've got one more old DOS game that I want to play. So we played Carmen Sandiego last time, and it turned out that that game, it was fun for about 10 missions, and then it was just repetitive and grindy and boring. But this one is King's Bounty, and this is going to be much, much better than Carmen Sandiego. So if you know about the Heroes of Might and Magic series, King's Bounty is basically the precursor to that. So it was published in 1990, and it's a really good game, and it stands up amazingly well in the modern day. And well, just look at it. Mostly it's the design. Let me just get through that. Mostly it's the design and the artwork that makes it good, and then I'll just show you. Well, I mean, you see what it means. Select character A, B, C, and D. So it doesn't really explain to you what these characters are. So we have a knight. Do you not have a mouse? We don't have a mouse. We have a knight, a barbarian, a paladin, and a sorceress. And you have leadership and strength and magic and something else. So we usually go with the knight, which is the most well-rounded, I think. So the sorceress obviously has better magic. I believe the barbarian actually has the best leadership, which means you can have the biggest armies. But then I think the knight actually has the most income, money, and we'll see. So my name is unpronounceable, and we're gonna play easy mode because I don't want to lose the game and then have to repeat or anything like that. So the difficulty determines how many days you have to beat the game and also how difficult the enemies are. So we're just gonna play easy mode. SCK the knight. So this is the game. Let me just go to options. Everything is keyboard. So we can go view army. Currently our army is 20 militia and 2 archers. But just look at the animations on these characters. Look at the militia. Like she's just gonna has a sword and a shield. Actually, I don't know if it's male or female. It could be a man or a woman, I don't know. And then the archer has the bow. But you see like they have really distinctive appearances, and the archer is clearly, an archer, and militia has that sort of thing. So the artwork or the character designs or the unit designs, everything is really distinctive. So you can kind of see immediately what they are, what they do, and everything has a oops, wrong button. Oh no, escape to exit, and escape also exits the. Okay, we're gonna have a problem. I'm not gonna do full screen because escape also escapes from the full screen. I'm just gonna play it like this. Alright, so let's go back to options, and C is controls. That's not useful. F is fly. We can't fly at the moment because if you have dragons, demons, and archmages, or any combination thereof, you can fly. So if all your units can fly, then your whole army can fly. But because we have human beings, archers, and militia, we can't fly at the moment. Contract info. We don't have a contract. I'll show you what the contract is later on. There's the map, which is pixels, awesome. And we have a puzzle. So the point of the game is to defeat these enemies, capture them, and also find the artifacts and uncover the map in order to find a hidden artifact. And that is the objective of the game, is to find that thing. So as we capture these enemies and we find artifacts, then we get more of the clues to find out what or where the objective is, and then we can finish the game that way. So we can search the area for the artifact, which we're not going to have. We can't use magic at the moment because we're not trained, but it tells you where to go. View character, this is probably useful. So we have a leadership of 100. Commission a week is 1,000. We currently have 7,500 gold. So you get money, you get income each week, and your leadership determines how big your army can be, which is important. So if you can raise your leadership, you can get more soldiers. If your soldiers are more numerous than your leadership allows, then they will actually become unruly and they rebel, and you lose them, and you can lose the battle as well. So you have to make sure that your army doesn't grow beyond your leadership. And usually you can't do it because usually you can't actually recruit more people than your leadership allows. So it says how many villains you've caught, how many artifacts you've found, and castles garrison. You can kind of conquer castles and garrison them, and then you have a score. So there's a lot of stuff, right? So you can wait and end week and couldn't save. Alright, so we're not going to do that anymore. Let me go up here to this castle. This is the castle of King Maximus. We can recruit soldiers, but I don't think I will. So every soldier you have in your army, you have to pay every week in upkeep. We're going to go to an audience with the king, and the king says, I can aid you better after you've captured 2 more villains. So if we capture 2 villains, then the king will increase our rank. So I'm just gonna exploit the hell out of the game. So I'm not gonna pretend that I don't know how to play the game. So the first thing we want to do is to get on a boat. So you go to a town like this. Let me just go gather information. So you see here, Castle Volta is under Kenagor the Mystic's rule, and then he's got knights, ghosts, archmages, and sprites. So he's a fairly strong enemy for us at the moment. So you can get a contract. So Murray the Miser. So you can kind of scroll through the contracts. So these are the people that we have to capture. And so Murray the Miser is the easiest one. We'll start with Murray the Miser. And we're going to rent a boat. And we know that the nearby castle is under Kenagor the Mystic's rule, and we're not going to attack him for a while. And we're going to need siege weapons to take castle. We're not going to need that yet. So we're going to get on the boat and stay on the water for the most part. And just pick up all the loot. So you see, I should turn the music off. I'm going to turn the music off as well. So you see here, like you find a box, right? So you can either take the 400 gold or distribute the gold to peasants, increasing your leadership by 8. Notice that, so you can either take the gold or take the leadership. But remember that we get a weekly income. So gold, we'll just get income coming in. But leadership, we don't. So what we want to do is to increase it, like always take the leadership. And by doing so, we can get a bigger army. Because leadership is more valuable than gold, at the moment at least. Let me just go to controls and turn off the sounds. How do I... Controls... Control 2... Okay. Control... I'm just going to turn off the sounds. Army size on and off. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that must be the thing that allows you to recruit more soldiers than you can control. So again, we're going to take the leadership. So I'm not going to read most of this stuff because it's not that useful. See that tree thing? So you can recruit soldiers or units from this. Gnomes are not that useful. We want to keep in mind the things that we can recruit and the things that are useful. So that is an enemy. Let me not fight him. So here we see there's many sprites, a few wolves, and some gnomes. We're not going to attack him yet because we don't actually have an army. So the thing to win at this game, or to get a good start at the game, what you want to do is to start off in a boat and just go pick up all the stuff you can pick up without getting into any battles. Because the more soldiers you have, the more you have to pay each week. So you spend the first week or two just collecting all the loose gold on the ground and all the random items on the ground that you can find, and then you get an army and then you capture some of these enemies and rank up and all that. So the strategy right now is to avoid battle, avoid getting captured by anyone or getting attacked by anyone, and just grab all the loot we can. So let me check what's in here. So see this castle is under no one's rule, so we can kind of conquer it if we want to and garrison it, but that's not that useful right now. So what we want to do is figure out where Murray the Miser is. Ooh, this is let me just lure this guy over here and then get past him so I can get this box. Instant army spell, we don't really want that. Alright, we're gonna avoid everybody, but pick up all the things that we can pick up. So you see, like, there's a lot of stuff just lying around waiting for you to pick it up, right? Let's see, gather information. Nope, Azram is under nobody's rule, so we're gonna ignore that. Let me just check out what's down here. Nope, there's an enemy. We're not gonna mess with any enemies. let me just come back around here. So this is a different box. After surveying the area, you discover that it is rich in mineral deposits. The king rewards you for increasing your weekly income by 45. So sometimes you get an increase in your weekly income, and these are quite valuable. Here you can recruit peasants. Peasants are useless. That is an underground tunnel that teleports you to a different part of the map. So if we look at the map right now, so you see the island at the bottom left there. So there's that, and we went around the whole coastline. So there's no enemies on the water. That's why we, get a boat, because we don't have to deal with enemies if we're on a boat, right? And we can just grab loot while we are on the boat. Wraithicon is under no one's rule, so we're going to ignore that. I'm going to continue grabbing loot and avoiding the enemies. So we've already found the tunnel on this continent, so this is going to be a creature. So we can recruit orcs. Orcs are fairly weak and fairly non-durable. Fairly not durable. What was that? Very fragile. The opposite of durable. So they're archers. Archers are always good because you get a tactical advantage having a ranged weapon. But they're pretty vulnerable to being just destroyed by enemies. Baron Johnny Marqueos is in Castle Portulus. Many wolves, many orcs, some archers, a few trolls, and a few dwarves. So we can't obviously defeat him right now, but keep that in mind. Yeah, so orcs, they're ranged, which is good, but they're also quite weak, which is not good. So in terms of the archer units that you have available, they're probably the weakest ones, but archers are always good. That's the desert, by the way. The desert, it takes a lot longer to traverse the desert, but there is stuff in the desert that might be valuable later on. But so if you kind of just keep track of the days, so on the top right there's days left, 893, and you'll see that go down as we travel. So if you go in the desert, every day, like every square takes 1 day, so you very quickly lose time in the desert if you travel through it. So we're not going to do that right now, but eventually we're going to have to go into the desert. The other thing we can do is if we can fly. Oh, here we go. Hidden within an ancient chest, you find maps and charts describing passage to Forestria. So there are other continents. So you can press N to go to a different continent. So there's 4 continents, so like this is only 1 continent, right? So there's 4 of them. So this is going to be a fairly large game. Not just this one map. What was I saying? So if we can fly, then we can fly over the desert and we don't lose time walking in the sand. But we can't fly yet, so so if we can fly, it's actually quite useful. That's under nobody's rule. We're gonna get out of there. Continue grabbing loot. So we spent 2 weeks. So you see that this is the budget, right? So on hand we have 7,400 or so. We get payments and then we spend money on the boat, we spend money on the army, and then we get the balance, which is the increase of about 500 or 400 something gold. And so you see the budget there that tells you how much money you're spending on your army. So there's an economy thing that we have to keep track of. Notice that the enemy can't actually go past the front of the castle. So you see there's like a shadow in front of the gate. It actually counts as a barrier to the enemy, so you can stand there and not be attacked. But you can cross it, but they can't. So sprites can fly, but they're not big enough to carry. So if you have an army full of sprites, you still can't fly. But they can fly, but they're also very they're also very, very vulnerable and very weak. So they're not that useful as military units. Let me just lure this guy over here so I can grab the box behind him. So far we haven't found any useful creatures that we can hire. I guess elves, trolls, Druids, Archmages. These are the powerful units that we want to get our hands on. Either they're ranged, or they can fly, or they're really strong, or a combination of all of the above. Alright, we're gonna lure that guy away, grab this, and continue on. So if you look at the map, we've kind of went around the outside, right? And there's gonna be a river in here. Let me just come in here, get the information. Castle Irok is under Princess Imola's rule. So she's got a lot of sprites. So the sprites will just fly into your ranged units, so that you can't use your bows anymore. So they're kind of annoying that way. But aside from the sprites, she's only got zombies, skeletons, and ogres, and a few ogres. So she's not that strong, but she can disrupt your ranged units fairly effectively. Dwarves are very tough. So you can see that we may recruit up to 8. So your leadership determines how many of these units you can recruit. We can't recruit that many dwarves, unfortunately. And they're fairly tough. So I guess they're good. Oh crap, I need to lure this guy away. Let me just lure this guy over here. Kind of wasting time luring these guys back and forth. And then get behind him so I can get this chest. Yeah, so dwarves, they're fairly tough soldiers, tough melee units, which is useful but not that useful. Although sometimes you just need some meat shields, right? So we're gonna stay away from the desert. I believe there's a castle. Hack the Rogue is in there. Let me just not go in there yet. So I believe Hack the Rogue is the second strongest. So it's got some nomads, many militia, peasants. So yeah, Hack the Rogue is the second weakest enemy after Murray the Miser. So when we defeat Murray the Miser, we might just go and attack him. I think this is... Oh, many sprites with desires of greater glory wish to join you. Do you accept? They're kind of useless. So no, I mean... they're like fodder. No, they're not useful. Alright, we're just gonna say no and send them on their way. Who is here? Nomads? None of these are all that useful, unfortunately. We might just go to the next continent straight away and not even attack any of the castles here. Because we might find better units in the next continent. What I really want are trolls. Trolls... Oh, we haven't done any combat yet, so this might not make any sense. Let me just gather information. Dread Pirate Rob, militia, archers, elves, and barbarians. So that's fairly scary to us right now. No, I'm gonna leave these guys alone. So trolls will regenerate their health every turn, which means that if they can't kill one troll, they won't kill any trolls ever. So and then they have a lot of hit points too. So Murray the Miser is in Castle Faxes. So he's got peasants, wolves, militia, peasants, and peasants. So you see a lot of peasants, and peasants are the weakest units in the game, really. So that makes Murray the Miser the weakest enemy that we can face. Yeah, so ooh, no. See, there are a few trolls. If we fight them now, we're not gonna be able to kill any trolls. I mean, with other units, if you take multiple turns... Oh, we're gonna hire 19 elves. Yep, we're gonna do 19 elves right away. Shall we? Why not? And we don't have to keep in mind that elves are here. Elves are really good ranged units. Yeah, so for most units, if you take, several turns to whittle down their health, that's perfectly fine. But with trolls, because they regenerate their health every turn, if you take several turns to kill one, then you're never going to kill one, because you're never going to have several turns, right? Because they're going to regenerate every single turn. So trolls, if we can find some trolls ourselves, then we have meat shields to deal with all of the enemies, basically, on this continent. Or all the random guys walking around. What should we do now? There is a little bit of stuff, I think, to the south. Let me just go down there, see if I can sidestep some of these enemies and pick up some of the loot. But otherwise, since we don't have any... Let me just check my army again. 19 elves, 2 archers, militia. No, I really want some trolls. If I can find some trolls, that'll be great. But since we can't find any good units, what I might actually do is just go to a different continent. Alright, we managed to sidestep that guy. And there should be loot here. Alright, that's not that great. Alright, I think what I'm going to do right now is just go to the next continent. If possible, find some trolls. So if we gather information, so you see this one is under Sir Moradin the Cruel's rule. We have militia, archers, pikemen, cavalry, and knights. So we definitely don't have what it takes to kill anything here. And really need to be sure that we avoid all the enemies on this continent and not be trapped in any way, because we're not gonna have any luck against any enemies here. But the loot is better, so the loot is worth more in the second continent. So the further in you go, the more valuable the stuff is, but also the more dangerous it is, right? So this might not be what I think it is. Many gnomes with desire of greater glory wish to join you. No, I don't really want gnomes. And there are gnomes back in the other continent anyway, so I can always recruit them. Treasure at the river's end. Alright, I'm gonna grab the loot. I don't quite remember. This might be dangerous. Ooh, you can get up to 6 ogre, which is not that useful. But again, decent meat shields. No, we're gonna stay away from those. No, we're gonna stay from... Although it's peasant sprites and nomads, so it's not that dangerous. You do have a choice to run away, so I mean it gives you the opportunity to choose your strategy, right? You don't just get ambushed. You kind of have a chance to run away. The problem is if there are 2 enemy units like right next to each other and you walk into one, what happens is you walk into one, you say no to the combat, you come back out, but because you're right next to another enemy, the game will, like that enemy will attack you, and then you say no to him, and then the first enemy attacks you again, so then you get stuck in a loop, and then you have to fight one of them, or rather you have to be killed by one of them. Well, that's the whole map, you don't get to keep it. And so if there's 2 enemies side by side, then you're screwed, and if you get trapped in that loop, then there's nothing you can do to get out of it. So that's kind of dangerous. Let me just see what's over. Oh, I'll get away from that. Not interested in fighting elves and skeletons. What is this? Interesting, more elves. So looks like we're gonna have quite a few elves that we can use. So there's elves there, there's elves up the river in the first continent, which is curious. There's a thing behind the desert. Okay, we can waste a few days. Alright, let's grab that. So we just wasted like 4 days grabbing that. There is an island in here. I don't remember if there's loot on it. Nope. The answer is no, there isn't. But you see how we're getting a lot of leadership from these boxes, right? Oh, don't do that. No. Let me just check the map. Alright, let's continue around the coastline. I mean, so you can see how why we are on a boat, because we are pretty safe when we are on the boat. Whereas if we travel by land, then we can quite easily get trapped and ambushed and everything. So that's why you always... Dwarves with desire of greater glory wish to join you, do you accept? No. No trolls. So it's random, by the way. So the loot you get, the recruiting things that you have available in each area, all of that is random. Actually, let me just lure this guy away and grab this box. So if you start a new game, they'll be in different locations, and all the loot inside the boxes will be different. So you know, if you can, it gives the game a bit of replayability, right? It's not just going to be the same game every single time. Oh, interesting. I want to see what's in there. Let me just get this guy to come over here, and then dwarves. No. Alright, let me just check the map. Let's go around the landmass. Actually, I want to get this guy out of the way. And then grab this. So there is replayability, and the enemies can be in, or like the villains can be in different castles. So it's going to be a different game every time you play. What is this? Nope. Alright, we're just going to continue grabbing stuff. If we can't find trolls, we might just go back, because we've got enough money, I think, for a decent army, or do we? Maybe we don't. What is this? More elves! Amazing! There's a lot of elves. I don't have enough gold for more elves. Alright, so we're in a bit of trouble here. The economy is not really working to our favor. And also that's a symptom of us, you know, just getting all the leadership and not getting any of the gold. I think there's loot in there. Let me just get past this guy. Nope. No. Yeah, I'm spending a lot of money on elves. Look at that. I'm spending 640 bucks on elves every week. So I'm not really getting much income per week right now. We need to make our... Ooh, that's dangerous. We need to make our make the elves count and start killing some of these groups for money. I think what I want to do is... Oops. What I want to do is... check down here? No. Alright, let me just get away from him. Check down here. Sprites, damn it. So the trolls also live in those tree things. That's why I've been checking every single one I find. But we haven't found any trolls yet. I'm gonna just go back to the ship before we get ambushed by another enemy. That would be embarrassing. That's nope, we're not gonna fight him. And I don't think there's too much else around here that we can safely get. So you can see like two enemies like that. It's really dangerous. Alright, so we're back here. Haven't found anything all that valuable, have we? No trolls. Alright, we're gonna go back to the first continent. Where was Murray the Miser? He was up the river, wasn't he? Let me check our army. Alright, well let's go and recruit archers 54. I don't have enough for 54. How much do I have enough money for? 4 times 3 is 12. And that's all the money I have. This might be problematic. We haven't found any good units. We have some ranged units, which will help. Skeleton goes trolls. Oh crap, I don't wanna... No. Why are there trolls in here? We need to get behind him though. Let me figure out... Alright, let me just try and figure out the... Oh, he can't come down here. This is gonna be terrible. So you need to get behind him to learn spells. The Archmage is behind him. And if we can't get behind him, then we can't learn spells. But he has trolls on him, which makes him extremely dangerous. Many sprites, wolves, and gnomes. We're gonna go attack this guy. So this is combat. If you've played Heroes of Might and Magic, this might seem familiar to you. So we're gonna have to move this person here and wait. First of all, kill all the sprites. Or maybe that's enough. Alright, I'm gonna kill the wolves. So the wolves are fast, the sprites are fast. So we're gonna let the sprites come here and attack us because they're so weak, they're not gonna do any damage at all, they're just gonna get killed. The gnomes are slow, so we're just gonna let them slowly walk towards us while we shoot them to death with our archers. You see how archers are great against slow enemies? And that's our victory, so against weak enemies like that, it's fairly straightforward. The battle. Let's see, who's this guy? Skeletons, dwarves, and sprites. Alright, we're gonna go attack him. So you see the terrain is slightly random. We're gonna wait on the militia. We're gonna kill... I believe the 32 elves can just kill all the sprites in one shot. Like that. Yeah, there you go. So this is why we spend all that time just going around gathering money and gathering leadership and buying, like, elves. Because once you have enough of them, you can just take care of these enemies fairly easily. Let me kill those guys and just shoot the dwarves behind us. You see the dwarves are quite sturdy. Maybe I should have stopped them if I got close. Do I lose militia? Oh, I don't. So if we let the dwarves get too close, we're gonna start losing soldiers, which is not what we want. Let's see if we can kill off the dwarves before they get into melee range. Yep, so we can do that. And again, we're fine. So you want to minimize your losses. But notice how every time you kill one of these enemies, you get some gold out of it. Let's see, gnomes, elves, and orcs. No, see, both elves and orcs are ranged units. We're not going to fight them. Ogres, dwarves, and wolves. Ogres are strong, dwarves are strong, but they're also slow. So we're going to risk this. We're going to take this risk. We're going to wait on that. Shoot the wolves. Shoot the dwarves. This might be a mistake. You just move that there. Pause. So we're going to use the militia as meat shield, but they're not very good meat shields. Oh, this is great. So the AI gets stuck. So instead of coming around the bottom or just letting the wolves walk first, they block the wolves, which is kind of funny. Let me wait on these guys. Let me shoot the wolves and shoot the dwarves. Pass. So now we are slightly scared. Shoot those guys. Shoot the ogres. See how we didn't kill any ogres. So now we just have the ogres, but they're slow. So conceivably, we can kite them a little bit. But they might not be amenable to kiting. Let me just move the militia here. Move the archer here and then shoot. Move the archer, move the elves there and then shoot. Problem. So I'm gonna move the militia back to like there. Run away with the archers. Move the elves there and shoot. Oh, fascinating! It's going after the archers. So we're gonna wait with the militia. Move the archer and shoot. Continue shooting the ogre with the elves. We're gonna be fine, I think. So I'm gonna do that. And they go there. And I move there. Move the archers down here. Shoot him. And then shoot him. Okay, so I think we're gonna be okay just kiting this guy around. This is not a good position to be in. Usually when I play an easy game of King's Bounty, I do a lot better than this. Don't have to kite these guys around. But there you go. We have a relatively bad start. A lot of elves though. The elves might come in handy later in the game if we can get enough of them. Alright, so we're just gonna move the archer up here, shoot him and then he dies. Alright, whoa, what's that? No, stop advertising your antivirus. Alright, so we killed them, which is great because we got a lot of money from killing those ogres.